Okay, let me bring in Sushant on that. I think you've posed an interesting question in any case. Sushant, we are at a crossroads. India will have to choose between US and it will have to choose between China. Which is the more mercantilistic power is a question that comes up from the argument of Thomas Duesenberg. Your response to that, Sushant?
Yeah, look, I think what Donald Trump is trying to do is, resort not to globalization, but to mercantilism. And the most crazy kind of mercantilism where he is putting the entire strategic chessboard which the United States had built up over 70, 80 years post Second World War. He's put it at stake. He has alienated, even though those allies and partners have still not gone against the United States. They have their own compulsions. But I don't think the way the US administration is talking about, for example, European countries, talking about Japan, talking about Korea, insulting leaders who come to meet him, I don't see how that promotes United States interests. Okay, that is one. Second, the question you asked, should India go with China? Should India go with the US? India will go with itself. This whole business that should we trust the United States or should we trust China? Trust is an overrated commodity in international relations. What matters are interests. Our interests certainly aligned with the United States, probably still do. But then does the United States interests align with India? Is the kind of bullying that which we are seeing, the kind of insulting remarks that are coming every day from these crazy characters aligned to the president, and I agree that some of that stuff would have the go-ahead of the president. Now, how does that work out? How, if you talk about democracies, listen, in a democracy like India, it's just not acceptable for somebody to address a country like India in the way the American establishment is doing. So I really don't see how this works out well for the United States. Then, this whole business about BRICS and SCO. For the longest, the Americans had no problem with it. In fact, even if I accept the argument, for the sake of argument, I accept that SCO is an anti-Western bloc. Let me accept it. But India is not anti-Western. This is a regional bloc in which we would rather have a foot in than be out of that bloc, right? And we tried to moderate, even whether it's BRICS. Just look at what happened in the Brazil summit.
The point is this, that why should it be a choice? India has its own, strategic autonomy. It will take a call that is interested in India. And if India has ties with China or Russia, it's in India's own interest. There are historical ties in a context here, which the White House seems to be completely and blissfully either unaware of or is deliberately ignoring.
Raghav, first of all,
Madhav, please.
I personally believe that we should not time and again emphasize on 50% tariff. Actually, 25% tariff is...
No, and why not, sir?
Sir,
why should we not emphasize on it?
But will you give me a chance to explain? 25% is tariff based on reciprocal and 25% is linked with the purchase of oil from Russia. If tomorrow Ukraine-Russia war is over, that 25% tariff is also over. You have to understand, and there is short-term thinking and long-term thinking. Tomorrow, if this war is over and Trump is trying to get Russia back into G8, tomorrow, if there is an alliance, and at the same time, Trump is having a very fair trade deal with China. So tomorrow, if China, Russia, and USA, they join hands together, don't you think that India will be isolated at that time? It's for India to decide whether India wants to...
Sir, don't worry about India being isolated. Please tell us, why does China not have this extra 25% or the EU? Both of whom import more Russian energy than India. Can you tell us that? Is that how United States is going to treat 25 years of relationships improving?
Yes. First of all, China's tariff is 54%. Secondly, China is not member of BRIC as well as Quad. So you cannot be a friend and you can be enemy also at the same time. Either you have to be with USA or you have to be against USA. China is openly against USA.
Who decides this kind of a policy? Who decides this kind of a policy? I want to bring in Sushant on that. Sushant, quick response, because this has to be, this has to be decided. Will you sanction Russia then, sir? Will you sanction Russia, Mr. Ahuja?
Russia is already, there are so many sanctions on Russia.
Okay, already. We're talking specifically about energy. I'm talking specifically about energy because we have a situation where US is today buying $2.5 billion worth of nuclear material, including uranium, plutonium, etc. What about that hypocrisy?
So basically, as I said, that the tariff on India, 25%, that is based on reciprocal tariff.
You're not answering my question. I asked you why is if US is so convinced that Indian money is funding the war there in Russia, then why is the US then doing trade with Russia? Explain that to us. And isn't that pure hypocrisy?
Because USA, as I said that earlier also, India cannot be a member of BRICS against the interest of United States, as well as cannot be member of Quad against the interests of China. So you have to decide whether you are going to be with China or you are going to be with
No, we don't have to decide, sir. We can follow our independent foreign policy. Thank you so much for that.